Alrighty, so I've got a couple touch ICs to do before I go home for the night. Figured I'd stream, just talk to everybody, see what's going on. Pretty frustrating day. I've been working on a board that another company in our town worked on. Should have been a simple touch IC problem. Hey, Paul. This should have been a simple touch IC, and it's turned into an absolute nightmare. It went from not booting to booting again to no touch to no image, back to image, still no touch. I've replaced anything and everything that I can think of. I've checked different things. Everything seems fine. Just absolutely nothing working. I did realize that a little thing when I hooked up my, or when I placed my chestnut chip the one time, I guess I had a short underneath of it, and whenever I hooked up battery, I thought it smoked the chip, but evidently it did not smoke the chip, it smoked the coil. So that's why after I replaced chestnut again, it wouldn't show images, because the coil itself that boosts the voltage from VCC main, which is anywhere from 3.7 up to 4.2 volts. It wasn't boosting at all. It was keeping it at VCC main voltage. So it turned out to be the coil and not the chip itself. I did replace the chip anyway, but the coil ended up being the issue. But even though I have image back, I still have no touch. I talked to Mark on the forums and looked to see if the what's up, QBasic? I looked on the forums to see if Mark had any idea, which he had done one just like it, and Larry had linked me to it. And I watched the video that he did, and it was very similar, kind of similar symptoms. But I've done everything that Mark checked, and I've replaced everything that Mark did, and it's still, I'm getting 1.8 volts on boot up. YouTube keeps giving me a warning on the stream. Does anybody have any lagging issues or anything with the 1080p or 720p streams? Paul 5S is stuck in DFU water damage. Make sure, Paul, that you use a new battery with that, or you'll end up with error 27 like Jessa had, and if you do, there's no data recovery from that. What's up, Johns? Paul, if they keep kicking back into DFU mode, it can be a corrosion issue, but it can also be that the NAND storage is completely full, and there's no way out of it if it is. You have to wipe and restore. But definitely address any type of water damage first. If you're new to the stream, I do a lot of iPhones, iPads, MacBooks, anything like that. We don't get as many MacBooks as if you were watching Lewis's stream. We have a much smaller town, or city. What's up, Seven? What's up, Jose? Kate Foss, what hot air temp? 1,000,000 degrees. 1,000,000 degrees. But anyway, we do a lot more iPhone repairs than we do MacBooks, but we do the occasional MacBook here. I fixed 2 or 3 last week, so we actually had 2 back-to-back Airs that came in with the same damage and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and jump. I'm doing a Touch SC on a 6 Plus. The common failure here is that this pad here lifts, which is actually lifted on this one, which is kind of rare. Usually the pad is still there, but it's not lifted. So I've scraped away at the via, and I'm tinning that via up so that we can attach a wire to it. The pad, you can't see it right now because the flux kind of hides it, but the pad should be over there to the side. And I'm knocking everything on the ground. Oh, there's my cable. I was looking for my iPhone cable. Come on, you bitch. Alright. So, if you're used to watching Lewis's stuff, he uses a lot larger materials than we do. I don't think you can see this, but, oh yeah, you can. That's the wire that I'm using. We've got to make a small jumper here. Let's see if I can place it down without losing it. We've got 4 of them here, but I'm only going to do a couple tonight. The layers, I think there's 14 on the iPhone, 14 layers. I'm not sure. It may be more than that, but I think it's somewhere around 14. So I've got my jumper wire there. I'm going to tin one end of it so that we can attach it to our pad. I'm going to use this ground over here that has some solder on it to kind of tin the end. Okay, our end is tinned now, so we're going to tack it down on that via there. Alright, so it's tacked to that via. So our end location is right here. There's a pad that's supposed to be there that's missing. So we're going to have to scrape this trace a little bit to expose some copper and tin it. And by doing that, we can wrap our wire over to it and tack it down in place also. I need a little more flux there. Alright, so our pad is tinned. Now I'm going to probably use a couple of sets of tweezers here to bend this line into place where I want it. Really refreshing to see. Doing a shitload of flux on our boards after seeing Lewis. Flux is actually a good thing though. I mean, I don't blame Lewis for using a large amount of flux. So that's about where I want my wire to be. I'm sure somebody will ask, why do you have a loop in it? I leave a little extra slack because this line tends to break pretty easily, and if we leave a little slack in that line, it actually helps take some tension off of it. I should turn my temperature down because I picked up my whole wire now. Alright, so we're tacked down on that side, and we're tacked on that side. The output side there on the trace is going to be pretty weak. Yeah, why do I loop the wire? I hear that if you loop it around enough, it creates magic. It's definitely not a magnetic field because that requires a ferrite core. Without the core, you're making magic is all you're doing. Lucky for you, Kate, this is a small stream, and we support trolling, unlike Lewis's stream. So just cleaning up the flux there. Okay, so you can see, let me get it in focus a little more. You can see that our wires run over to the pad area. I'm going to put down some UV curable solder mask, that way it'll keep that wire in place while we're dropping the chip back on. Okay. Alright, that's where we want it. So we're going to cure that. If you troll hard enough, they will mod. That's true. We have a few mods already. Mostly just people from Lewis's stream. People that I've talked to and gotten to know. The real question is, who is the real Kate Floss? Alright, so I'll turn the exposure down here so you can see this better. This chip is Mason. The Mason chip is one of two chips that controls touch on the 6 Plus. This one is the one that usually fails on the 6 Plus, unlike the other one that I have here that's just a nightmare. So I need to just clean off the old solder as much as I can. Not super concerned with it being completely clean. Just want to knock down most of the old solder. Exactly, QBasic. You gotta slow the electrons down, because I mean, if they get too fired up, they just fucking fly straight through. They don't even stop. Wouldn't even hit the chip. It would just end up somewhere else on the board. Probably cause Apple a heart attack. They wouldn't know what to do. Probably send you a message and say, take straight to Apple. This shit's been messed with. We're gonna need at least $600. In this case, $300. You get a little discount for having a phone. Versus the board or the laptops, they ream you real good. Alright, so we've got our chip cleaned off, and we're gonna lay our stencil over it. So the stencil's down. Now I really gotta turn the exposure down. Everything's so reflective. So take my paste. I'm just gonna rub it into the stencil. Gotta really rub it good to get your balls to form. Because if you're not rubbing it, you're doing it wrong. Your favorite part? Must be hell to solder such tiny package. Which package? That's the question. Which package do you speak of, sir? Alright, so if you've never seen this done before, you're about to see magic balls of form in front of your eyes. Alright, so here it goes. And change over. We got one that's not seated that I can see. This one here. It might be actually. Alright, so we're going to push this out of the stencil. Alright, and then we're going to reflow that. Paul, if it isn't a direct heat stencil, it sure as fuck likes being heated up. It's supposed to be made for direct heat, but this is like the premium from China, like the most expensive stencil they offer. It's held up well to heat it. It flexes a little bit when you first start the reball, but it seems to be pretty well at holding its shape. So we've got our IC reballed there. We need to clean off the flux now, because it picks up a lot of shit whenever we're doing this. So this is my toothbrush. It tastes really bad after I do this, but it's what happens. Actually, the cleaner, I use acetone most of the time just because it dries pretty quickly and it'll clean off this flux residue fairly quick. It is a little corrosive to solder if you just leave it on there for a while, but we usually end up, we'll flood this with flux again anyway. So let's check our UV over here and see if it is cured. Alright, so Alright, so our UV is cured. It's stiff now. It's got a stiffy going on. What you gonna do cleaning balls at 2:30 in the morning? Key basic, you have to ask yourself at these type of moments in life, how can it get any better? And then you have to answer yourself, it can't. Everyone likes shiny balls. I like shiny balls. So put down a little flux under the chip. We need to flip it around because the orientation is this way. And we're going to lay our chip back down on the board here, as close to where we think it should be. The closer the better, that way the solder balls don't skip across another pad and bridge anything. We're going to heat that until we see the flux come out a little bit. Let it cool. Alright, and now we'll reflow. If you watch it, it'll move into place when it's ready. Alright, that side moved. And that side moved. Alright, so the chip is where it should be. Alright, I bumped it and it moved back. We got a little bit of UV over here. Alright, so now we'll check if it's level. And it is. Our coil looks okay. Alright, so now testing point. See if it works. I'm going to let it cool for a second and clean this excess flux up. As Lewis calls it, the rapid cooling method. Alright, so that's fairly clean. Now we'll test this one. I hook my leads back up. Man, I gotta clean my desk. Shit's fucking everywhere on it. Today was extremely busy, so I soldered jumper wire because the solder band didn't have good continuity current. Also, the wire is cut, so it doesn't. Yeah, Cedric, the jumper is to bridge over to where the pad should have been. Normally the pad is there, but sometimes it's got a disconnect in it. The wire itself is a magnet wire, so it's got an enamel coating on it. So nothing should short out on it. So we're going to plug in our test LCD here and see if we have touch. Get my cables. What wire are you? I swear everything is falling on the floor right now. It's fucking driving me nuts. Of course, the last cable I picked too is the one that I need. Alright, so turn my power supply on. We're gonna short our power button to ground. Alright, so the phone's turning on. And I unhook the battery. These leads, I've been looking at a new set on Union Repair. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get them because these are about to drive me nuts. They're worn out from just using them for so long. See if I can keep it and disconnect it again. Alright, fuck you. I'm not going to try to pick it up. I'll just angle the camera down so you all can see that it's on. And then I'll show you that the touch is working. So, as you can see, we have an Apple logo there on the screen. We're just going to wait for it to boot up. Make sure there's nothing personal on their main screen here so that you all can't say, oh, he's showing shit on online. It's not his. Alright, so actually we're at setup screen, so even better. So click OK there. We don't have Wi-Fi cables hooked up right now, so there's not going to be any Wi-Fi options right now. We can click next, continue, set up later, passcode, don't add, continue, get started. So there we go. I guess this was, somebody tried an update on this one. I'm going to test the screen. We'll go into settings. Alright, so we'll go down to, we're past it, accessibility, assistive touch, turn that on, and then we can drag this around the screen. You want to make sure that you can drag it to each corner. The way the matrix is set up, it's set up in a grid, so if you can reach each corner and you can drag it across from each corner, that means your touch is good on the entire screen. So as you can see, we have touch on this one again. We'll turn that off. Alright, and we'll turn this one off and move on to the next one. So touch ICs are fairly common. That's why I'm so like pissed off about the one this morning. Like the board that I got in, this family, they've got 6,000 photos. It's 128 gig, 6 plus. It's got 6,000 photos and videos of their child, and that's the only place they have them, and they have not backed them up on iCloud. This phone went to 2 different stores. The first store that it went to put a screen on it twice and realized that it wasn't a screen problem. They put the original screen back on, sent them off, and they took it to another store here in town. Well, that store attempts to fix these things. They originally were taking paper and folding it up and jamming it under the board, which is not a fix. It actually causes more damage. Well, they stopped doing that, and they hired somebody that fixed them by reflowing the chips. But the problem is this person doesn't check. I don't even know if they even test their heat. Like all they do is they take their hot air gun and say, here's your board, and they just do this, and they hold it there. They don't touch anything. They don't look at it. They don't test temperatures. They don't do anything. They just hold it there for like a minute and a half, and then when they think that it's warm enough, they just pull it away and let it cool off. So this phone was done. That's what they did to this phone that I have now, that I worked on this morning, and now that phone has more issues. So when I got it, I normally what I do on these boards, if you look at it, the touch tips are right here, and if you flip it over to the other side, on this side right here, you can put pressure when they're in the frame and just put a little pressure there, and the touch will work because you're pressing down on those chips. Well, they had heated the board so much that under the CPU shield there were solder balls that were just kind of sitting out because they had pushed out from the underfill where they had gotten it too hot. Well, when it did that, it caused the phone not to turn on. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I've never had one just stop working because I put a little pressure on the board. So I pulled the CPU shield and found these solder balls. Slow down watching ad. I pull the CPU shield, remove the solder balls, phone turns back on. I was like, well, thank God, that was simple. So I just did the repair, or the repair I did on that board. Well, touch didn't work. Usually that is the fix. Like on all 6 pluses, that is always the fix. Every now and then you might run into a cumulus that's bad, but majority of the time, if it's not water damaged and it's just a general use wear and tear problem, it is Mason. So I replaced Mason, touch didn't work. I said, okay, well maybe cumulus is fucked up. So I replaced cumulus, which is the shiny chip right here. Replaced cumulus, still no touch. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So I started checking the voltage lines, and there's a voltage line right here. It's a 5V1 line, and then there's a voltage line here, which is a 1.8 volt line. And those lines feed power to the chip Cumulus to tell it, okay, you can turn on and touch will work. Because Mason has a 5V7 line that is present. So I replaced, is reflowing the flux ever an acceptable solution for touch? No, Cedric. Reflowing does not fix it. You can reflow and it'll work again sometimes, but it's not ever going to last. It always will come back. You have to adjust. You have to address the pad issue, that the M1 pad that lifts. If you don't, it'll come back. Anyway, so there's a chip on the other side of the board. It's called Chestnut, which creates your LCD voltage lines, and it also creates your 5.1 volt line for Cumulus. So I replaced that chip, and after I got done, I guess there was a short under it, and it smoked what I thought was the IC. Well, I put another one on, and no image but backlight. And I put another one on, there was no image but backlight. The phone was still turning on because iTunes would see it, but I had no image. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I can't be fucking these chips up. So I sat down and I kind of cooled off for a minute, and I thought about it. I was like, oh, the coil is probably fucked, because it had a short and drew voltage straight through the coil and overloaded the amperage load on it. Try reflowing in Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. I don't know. I mean, F is later in the alphabet. I mean, that's got to be better, right? So if you do it in C, you're kind of, it's lower temperature. We don't want that lower temperature. We want that high shit. Yeah, Paul, it was pretty bad. So I sat down and thought about it. I was like, that coil's got to be fucked. So I pulled the coil, replaced it, and I got image back. So I was like, okay, well, I got image back. I've replaced Chestnut. I've got to have touch now. So I put the screen back on, and sure enough, I don't have touch still. It's still fucked. So I've checked all the lines that everyone's told me to check. The 1V8 line is present when it first turns on, but then it disappears. It goes back to 0. So I'm not sure if maybe it's not seeing something, or maybe because the 5.1 volt line doesn't show up, that the phone thinks, oh, well, I guess the touchscreen's not connected, so I'll turn this line off. But I don't know. Yeah, it's never the coil. Always trust the shirt. Alright, so what was I going to do? I need to find my... Okay.
Are you doing well?
Yeah.
Tell me your name again.
It's Chris.
Chris?
Yep.
Nice to talk to you again, Chris.
Let's see you. Okay.
I keep saying I
Okay. Have a good day. Alright, so I'm still waiting on my actual Kapton tape. This shit is not real, but it'll do the job that I need. I don't need it for heat protection. I just need it so this shielding I'm about to put on won't cause any shorts. 7, the schematics, man, it's gonna be tough to find stuff until somebody over in China like leaks that shit. Like, just keep checking Viet Mobile. They usually get stuff fairly quickly if it's leaked out onto the net somewhere. And plus it's a free site, so it's really nice. I've been doing these repairs for... I've been working on MacBooks for about 5 years, and then I mean I don't work on them as much as like Lewis or anybody, so I mean I know enough to fix most of them, but there's some stuff that I'd go to Lewis's forum and ask a question if I don't know. Micro soldering on phones and tablets, I've been doing it for about 2 years, maybe 3. Not very long. I pick up on this stuff pretty quickly. I probably would benefit from some lessons, I guess, about certain things. There's people out there that know more than I do about this stuff. I can pick up on stuff very quickly, though. If somebody had, like Lewis's, like, videos teach me the most. So if I can watch somebody do it, I can learn fairly quickly on what I need to do. And then I learn even faster if somebody is sitting there and shows me what to do like I can learn that pretty much instantly. Or even if I'm just in their presence and I can ask a question while they're doing it. Alright, so we got our protective layer down there. No problem, 7. That layer is just there so we don't cause any shorts with the shield we're about to put down. The shielding that I'm going to put down is there to help the board from flexing, which is the main reason this happens to start with. The board flexes, causes the pad to separate from the trace, and then after that happens, you get no touch. So hopefully the plan with the shields is that it will limit the flexing that occurs, and the jumper will keep that pad from separating. And if the theory holds, there should not be an issue with touch on these again, which so far in the 4 months that we've been doing them, we have not had a problem with them. Let's see if I can drop this down some. Notice this has gotten, it kind of sucks because I can't put the base straight on, so this head tends to lean down some every time, and it creates an off focus thing, like one side will be in focus while the other side's not, so kinda sucks for that, but what can you do? Yeah, Paula, that was just kind of a, like one day I was like, man, I really wish I could get a shielding, because everybody was cutting the sticker that's there normally and placing it in there, and it would leave gaps around the corners because you kind of had to guess where you were cutting. And so one day I was like, well, Kapton tape's not conductive, so and it's a decent shield against the outside, so it's not touching the other side of the shielding. So I was like, I'll just lay it in there, and then I took my knife and cut it and made a perfect little stencil. It makes life easier. So what I'm doing is just laying down a layer of solder, just so when I come back in here with my shielding, it'll have solder underneath the shield that will melt and lay down there. Alright, so King Bose, I've had it, I didn't like it. I don't do any more Xbox stuff. Xbox reballing is just not a viable business. You're gonna waste a lot of time and money doing that stuff, because you're reflowing flip chip stuff, and it's not gonna last. It's exactly what Lewis was talking about in the video today. Like, those GPUs that they're getting are reballed flip chips. They're not gonna last. That's why he said he expects, or Duke said he expects to get a lot of returns. Did you train the Chinese? No. The Chinese are fucking way beyond what we can do. I would like to get into some of the stuff that I see from the Chinese repair guys. They're very talented. I know there's probably some guys elsewhere that are really good too, but there's quite a few Chinese and Vietnamese repair guys that are absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen or never have seen his videos, I don't know if he makes any more anymore. I haven't seen any updates unless he's unless my YouTube account somehow unsubbed from him. But iFixitBN, his videos, he doesn't speak English, but his repairs, he understands the circuitry on these boards very well and can do some pretty crazy repairs. And then I think the Chinese company that I watch is Glon. I think it's Glon, Glon. They have a lot of really crazy repairs that they do too. They just did a video the other day where they did a RAM swap on an iPhone 7, and that shit is nuts. Like, they're reballing and replacing the RAM without lifting the CPU. Yeah, the equipment they use, Paul, it is fucking nuts. Like, they use the cheapest shit that you can see on the market and get shit done with it. I mean, I'm sure if they had access or wanted to with the better stuff, like, they could do that too. It may even make their life easier. I don't know. Like, I know the iron that I use now is far greater than what I've used before, but yeah, they do some fucking crazy ass repairs with some stuff that if you saw it in anybody else's shop, you'd be like, I don't know about these guys. The channel is iFixitVN, I think. Let me check. Maybe ICFixVN. Yeah, it's ICFixVN. You're correct. I don't. When's the last time he uploaded a video? Yeah, 3 months ago. He hasn't done a video in a long time. So yeah, ICFix.vn. His videos are amazing. Very smart guy. If you watch it, like, if you understand the circuitry already, you can see that he is explaining them, and you can kind of glean information off of what he's doing by just watching his work. You don't have to really understand him to kind of know what he's doing. But when he draws the diagrams and stuff and on a dry erase board, and he explains how they work, and you can see how he's drawing them out and how they work. But he's very good at what he does. Yeah, Lynn, that's what I was talking about. They split the layers and reball them, which you have to do anyway. If you're gonna do CPU, you have to separate them anyway. I think the ICFixVN guy actually did a CPU swap one time without splitting the layers. But I've pulled CPUs and gotten them off without fucking them up and not fucking the board, but I've never been successful in reballing one and getting it to work again. So we're going to mark this board so we know for warranty information. So we want, let's say the 31st. So 3/31/17. All right, so we know that one when it was done. So if we see this one again, we know our warranty date. I'm gonna grab the second one. Inspector Beardman. By not listening and just watching everybody else. Yeah, Eddie, I can agree there. Just watching somebody work can be very informative. It still requires some practice though. Like, it's a big difference in hands-on versus watching somebody. Like, I can watch the guys in the videos with the CPU stuff, but without doing the actual work and not understanding like what it feels like when you're cutting through the underfill and through the solder underneath the RAM, and without knowing like what kind of temperatures to be around and stuff like that, it's harder to say. All right, Paul, see you, man. So this is our second one. This one has not been messed with. The last one we did looked like somebody had pulled the shielding cover off already. But this one has not been messed with. So we're going to lift up this antenna. And pull it back out of the way. We'll cut this hot glue out of here, or whatever the fuck it is. I assume it's some type of hot glue. Could be an epoxy that they use. So same procedure here. We got 16 viewers, that's good. I don't know if everybody's watched the video that Jess had put up from Tennessee, but we went down and talked to the legislators there, and hopefully we'll see some reactions from it. Like, I think we changed some minds, but I'm not sure if we've made a huge impact yet, but hopefully we have. I think at least there's a possibility that it'll make it to the floor next year with a bill that may encompass consumer electronics, and I'm hoping it does. I think that we made a good case as to how consumer electronics would fit directly in with any type of repair, no matter if you're working on a car, tractor, phone, or vacuum. Repair in its basic sense is the same across the board. There's no difference in repair other than what you're working on. So, see you, Cedric. Yeah, I gotta adjust my actual scope itself down. Hold on one second. Probably end up dropping it on myself. Maybe wedged. Oh, there it goes. Alright, so it dropped down some for me. Let's go ahead and lock it back into place here. Alright, cool. So now maybe we can focus a little better at this height. There we go. Cool. Alright, so add some flux. How It's Fixed should be a TV show. That might be might not be a bad idea. I think that the idea of fixing things has gone by the wayside. I think a lot of our society now is replace because everything's cheap. But at what point does that become detrimental? Not only to the environment, but to business in general. And I think in general that it's a bad mindset to think that you shouldn't try to keep things, that you should just get rid of them. Yeah, fixing things is the original recycling, I agree. Where the fuck that came from? I gotta put new cleaning wool or whatever the fuck it is in my cups over here. It's starting to pick up solder when I pull them out. The thing that we talk to legislators about the most, and we try to make a point that repair is not, it's not an attempt to steal anyone's ideas. It's not an attempt to bypass any type of security or violate anybody's intellectual property. It's an attempt to restore what is already there. So a lot of the times we hear the argument that, well, this is somebody's intellectual property and they've worked hard for this, and you're asking for them to give you a schematic to that thing they've designed. And no offense, but I can sit here and look at this board and take all the chips off of it and measure everything and look up the chip manufacturer and find the specification sheets for them. And if I'm smart enough, I can figure out this entire board. It just takes time. So to say that we're going to steal their ideas, I mean, if it was that easy and that effective or anything, that China would have already done it. These guys making knockoff iPhones wouldn't have a knockoff iPhone that looks like something made in the cheapest, fucking shittiest factory that they can make them in. Like, there's plenty of knockoff iPhones on the market. None of them have boards in them that look identical. They don't look anything like the iPhone original boards. So if it was a case of somebody could easily just knock them off by getting the schematic, then why hasn't it happened? just because it's just not financially, it's not feasible for these companies to try to copy something from a schematic. This is not how it works. So that's one thing that we'd like to. In microwaves, they have wiring HVAC. Yeah, exactly. Like every industry, like if you think about it, your refrigerator has a PCB board that does like it watches temperature sensors and does this and that, and like tractors now are becoming as sophisticated as semis, and semis have CAN bus, and they have all these different data lines and computers and software and all this and that. And the problem we have is that these industries are actively attempting to shut down any type of repair that can be done by the owner or a third-party repair company, because they want to monopolize the repair and replacement section. And one of the points that Jessa made to one of the congressmen was, and he owns car repair places, and she was like, what if Lexus told you that because they made a car this year that only they were allowed to fix it, and that if you wanted to fix that car, your only option was either come to us and pay our prices, or if it's something we deem not repairable, we'll just, only option is you get either a refurbished car or you can buy a new one. And the only reason people care about that versus a phone is the value that's placed there. And the value that people place on their phone is far less than what they place on other items. So obviously a car does cost more, but the value in something that you own should be the same. You should value something that you've purchased, that you put your money into, the same, regardless of how much it actually costs. Like, why would you be okay with getting ripped off in one area but not in another? So we see a lot. You can tell with phones, people don't value them as much because they don't really. I don't think they really grasp how much they cost. When you buy a new iPhone, the payments are split up, so people don't really notice how much they cost because they're, oh, I only pay like $80 a month. It's not that much. But after your whatever year or 2 years or whatever you pay on it, I mean, you're spending $1,000 on a phone. How many people out there, just your average person, is like, man, I'm gonna go drop $1,000 on a phone today? And then when you ask them, hey, would you like to buy a nice case for that so that you don't break it? No, I don't need a case. I don't want to spend that kind of money. Like a $20, $30 case. You can't put rice on sentimental things like family photos and videos. I'll put a price on it. Yeah, they really don't. Like, people value things less because things are cheaper, and I think that's something that would change if we started making stuff that costs more. Not necessarily that it kind of forces people to value it more, but people will have more of a sense of want to repair their items. I mean, if you think about it, TVs, when flat screens first came out, they're like $10,000. Now you can buy a fucking 55-inch for $300 on Black Friday. Like, people just don't give a shit anymore. And I don't think that everything warrants a repair. There are some items that are just so cheap that it just doesn't really make any sense to fix them, or they're out of date to the point that it's not really worth fixing. Like, we, on computers, for example, Windows-based computers and Macs, I mean, if you go back far enough to where they're just not, it's just not a viable solution to fix them, it makes no sense to fix them because they're just not going to be used. But yeah, TVs get thrown away like it's nothing now. And I guess that's just the march of electronics in general. As something new comes out, the older device will always become cheaper, but how much do we value those items, I guess, is the question. Like, Is everything just expendable now? And the other thing that people don't think about is what is done to get these materials that are in these items. I mean, lithium and like platinum and the different precious metals. And I know a lot of those are recycled, but it's crazy the natural resources that are used to obtain these, and then the natural resources that have to be used to refine them again. Eventually, it's going to come to a head. Something will happen that's either very drastic, or somebody's just going to get tired of spending money, that people will finally start taking a stance and either fixing or doing something different. And I know for some people it's more of a financial thing, they just want business, but yeah, I mean that's, I know I sound like a tree-hugging hippie, but if you really think about it, if you're gonna stop and talk about the impact that we make on the environment, it's fucking nuts. You can only take from the environment so long before we're out of stuff. And then the question is, what do you do when you're out of it? You can't. You're gonna have to, like, you're gonna have to go to extremes like mining fucking meteorites and shit, or comets or something like that. I don't know when this view of cheaper replaceable stuff really started, though. Was it something that happened like was it in the 90s that it happened? Because I know up until like the mid 90s, most like manufacturers, if you needed something, you could call them up and buy parts and get schematics directly from them. Hell, if you think about the first computers, most of those were built by hobbyists. That the only way you really could build it is if you understood exactly how the hardware itself worked. And there wasn't really anything that you could like hide from anybody or make not available. Yeah, Lynn, that's probably true, actually. Eventually the dumps will become operations of mining because of the amount of shit that's been thrown in them. But I think that if we wanna look at it in the narrow sense as far as what we did in Nashville, though, it's really, I think it's there to help small businesses like myself and others like Lewis's and Jessa's. They may have bigger businesses than I do, but it's still a small business in terms of comparing it to anything else. Like if you compare them to Apple, we are drops in the bucket of what these larger companies are. And if we're gonna tout in America that we're all about bringing jobs back here, this is sure as fuck one way to do it. Because if you stop outsourcing all this stuff and sending it to China and having them send more phones or whatever, why not fix it? Apple sure as fuck doesn't want to fix it. No, they definitely don't want you to touch anything, that's for sure. You don't with the iPhone, Touch ID is the perfect example. I mean, the excuse is always that the reason they do these things is for security purpose. That if somebody had the ability to change your home button out and reprogram it, that they would have access to all your information. And that in itself is just a blatant lie. The perfect example to that is if you look at the Samsung. We fixed an S7 today, and plug and play, Bobby. Yeah. We fixed an S7 today that we swapped just the board on a frame that already had a home button in it. Well, those home buttons have a fingerprint scanner. Well, on the Galaxy series, you can swap those buttons in and out for any model. It doesn't matter. Fingerprint scanning will still work. And that's because Samsung understands, which Samsung's not that great either. They're not actively out there trying to help anybody, I don't think. But Samsung understood, though, when they made those, that wasn't really a security risk. So it wasn't something that they were super worried about when they were manufacturing. Maybe in hindsight, to more control their market, they may be like, well, shit, we should have hardware signed this to the secure enclave section in our phones that stores this information. That way we could keep people from fixing them as much. I don't know. I don't know if Samsung is actively against all this as much as Apple has been. I know in the Fast Eddie. I know in the lobbying that most of the lobbying is done by either AT&T, which makes no fucking sense. Like, nobody's trying to steal AT&T's technologies. Like, I don't know of anything that I really work. I guess AT&T has their own contracted stuff with like tablets and stuff, and they have some phones, but the only people that really show up are like AT&T, Apple, some fucking guy from the video game industry, because evidently wanting to fix your Xbox means that you want to steal all the video games. And there's a few other, especially for like the farming and stuff like that. You have like John Deere reps and stuff. Rapper, video, prop jewelry on the side. Yeah, I do. Bling bling. Every time I come around the city, bling bling. My nickname is Fat Guy from Jess's video. It's the funniest thing I think I've ever seen on chat. This guy just I think the fat guy's hot. It made me laugh. I got a good laugh out of it. I was hot though. It was hot as shit that day outside. Fucking walk around with my fat ass, carrying around my heavy ass laptop. Everybody else has these super thin laptops. My shit's fucking heavy as fuck. Yeah, Bobby, there is no such thing as authorized repair. That's complete bullshit farce. Like, I'm friends with. I've said this several times, but I'm friends with the guy across the street. His name is Mark, actually. He's a really good guy. I don't know where my tweezers are. They're on the fucking floor. I was looking for them. Yeah, I don't have a Lenovo. I have an HP. It's the one I do my streaming off of, too. Lewis didn't completely hate it. Lewis said, well, at least it's a somewhat real computer. He said it's got a track point at least, which it does have a track point. Alright. I mean, Dell, HP, they're all pretty much fucking same. The business class stuff is much better than the consumer grade stuff, though. People don't realize that either. Like, if you're used to buying consumer grade laptops, it's a night and day change when you go over to a business class laptop. Especially something like an Ultrabook or a workstation. The one I have is a workstation. It's a ZBook 15. It's got a dedicated GPU, Core i7. I think it's got 8 gigs of RAM, maybe 16. I don't know. I can upgrade it more. Let's see. So 8 gigs of RAM, Core i7. It's not a brand new. It's a 4600 series, 2.9 gigahertz, but it's got a dedicated Quadro K1100M GPU also, which can be upgraded. I found out. Not that it really matters. I mean, this thing handles what I need. I actually have in the back. I have a Dell server. I can't remember the model on it. It's got a Xenon, like 16 core processor or something like that. Actually, it might be an 8 core with hyper-threading. But it's a good unit. I don't use it for anything serious. I should probably use it more, but I'd have to go look, to be honest. I'm not sure. We actually bought it from a company that shut down that had like an at-home business, and they had two of them. One of them was the mail server, and the other one was like, I guess, just for files and sharing for all the computers. Yeah, they're nothing special. I think they sold online for maybe like $300-400. I mean, it's a decent unit though. I mean, they're really cool. You can do a lot of stuff. It's got the built-in RAID controller and stuff in it. I also have a Buffalo NAS in the back too. I need to upgrade the hard drives in it. It's only a 4 gig NAS, or 4 terabyte. I mean, but I use it just for backing up my business information. We keep all of our business tax and info on there. It's in RAID 10, so we have a backup, and it still writes fairly quickly. I'll have to get a camera. Like, I don't actually have a camera. The camera I use is the one on my webcam, so carrying around the computer will be kind of fucking clunky as shit. Really, it's my layout is probably fairly similar to Lewis's. We've got a long, narrow building, so across here, it's probably only maybe 20 feet from this wall to this wall. And then deep wise, it's a fairly deep office. It's got the front waiting area, and then we've got about twice the amount of space to work in, and then we've got a storage room in the back. But yeah, I mean, you're all talking about computer builds. Yeah, there's no computer builds unless you're doing custom stuff. There's not much market left. All right, so we got our chip solder back on. We're gonna check this and see if it works. Do simple build these days. We've only done one desktop build for anybody, and that was actually my friend's computer that he bought. He spent about $2,000 on building a gaming computer, so we put it together for him. But I didn't even notice this. This is a refurbished board. You can tell refurb boards. I'll have to pull the cable. Usually there's a mark right here with a magic marker, but the refurb boards have these gaskets around the power connector. I'm not sure why they do it, but maybe they're trying to copy the iPhone 6s. Alright, so I'm going to angle the computer down again so you can see that the screen is on. I'll have to move my camera out of the way so you can see the Apple logo there. Oh, we got some fade out. What happened there? Oh, my cable wasn't connected well. Whoops. Alright, let's redo that real quick. If your touch cable is not very well seated, you have issues. Make sure I haven't bent it. It's a little fucking bent there on the corner. Alright, so that's reconnected. Alright, let's see if we can boot this up without having any weird artifacts now. It's hard to see these pins. I didn't get a chance to really test these. What the fuck is going on here? This thing may have more issues. It's turning on right now, but I just had to press down on the CPU shield to get image, so that's interesting. We could have a maybe a possible issue with something, but touch is working, so can't blame it on me. We'll go into accessibility, assistive touch, turn it on, take it around the world, all the corners. Alright, so our touch is good. As you can see, I don't know, it's probably overexposed, but I can scroll there through the menu. So now, we'll look under the microscope, make sure that they're, yeah, see, our shielding didn't warp or anything. Usually what happens if you get them too hot, this sticker on top will curl up real bad. And even this really thin piece that goes on the side didn't even curl up, so I know I didn't get it too hot, but it's kind of concerning that there was fade out on the LCD until I pressed right here, which is where chestnut is, which tells me that there's possibly an issue with chestnut, or maybe it was just coincidental, I'm not sure, but no, it was really odd. They did create the long screw, that's true. Actually, you speak about long screw, let's see if there's any in here. No, it's good. I was gonna laugh if there's any over there. Actually, on the 6 Plus, it's this hole, but I don't see anything. Everything looks alright. I can peel this sticker up and look. Yeah, I mean, nothing looks out of place, so. We're gonna solder our shield on now. Let's make sure. Check it over here. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. Very little bit of flux residue there, which is good. No, I don't think it's cathode issue. This is like screen fade out. It's not the backlight. The backlight's on, it's the LCD that's fading out. So that's usually a sign that the 5.7 volt line, which is chestnut LCM power, is probably fucked up somehow, is my guess. That or my connector on my LCD from my screen is fucked up, which is a possibility. We've unplugged and plugged this thing in a lot, and I know it's gotten mashed a few times. It looks okay. Doesn't look bad. Alright, so that's all cleaned up. Looks good. Got a few fuzzies, nothing major. Movie, let's get ready to go into the movie. Chris caused long screw damage. No, I've never long screw damaged a phone ever. And long screw damage comes from inexperience and laziness with checking your screws. I mean, literally, you don't have to do much to keep it in order. you take your screws out and you place them exactly where they came out on a piece of paper or something, or on your workstation or your work mat or something. And if you keep them in order where you pull them, you won't have any problems. If you're dumb and you mix up your screws and then don't understand what a long screw is and what a short screw is, then yes, you cause long screw damage. And we actually fixed one this week. Actually, there's a stream on it that had long screw damage, and I ended up just running a jumper to bridge 2 points to make it work, but it's good now. So if you're gonna do these repairs, first things first, put your screws back where they came out. Don't swap them around. Some of them may be the same, that's fine, but try to keep them in the same spots. And once you do enough of these, you can tell which screw is which just by looking at them. Or at least where it should go. I mean, we have parts bins of screws, and we can throw a phone back together and kind of get all the correct screws without really knowing which ones were which. It's really a feel thing with the long screw damage. You can tell when that screw stops if you're turning it lightly. If you're really cranking on it, you won't know, and it really takes a lot of effort to screw into that board. So if you're having to really work the screwdriver to get that screw in, either it's fucking cross-threaded or it's not the right size. Alright, so we got our tape down for our shielding in between the shield and the components. This is gonna be the last one. Once I get the shield on, we're gonna call it a night because I gotta go home. It is almost 9 o'clock and I've been here since 10, which is pretty much my everyday, but I need to start going home a little earlier. I feel like since that, like, I don't get to spend much time with my girlfriend, and that kind of sucks. We don't get to cook much anymore. I'm hoping that if I put in hard work though for a few years in the business, that I can start taking that time off. And I think any business, you have to really dedicate yourself to it for a little while until it can support itself, and then you can back off it a little bit. But you can't back off too far, or you'll lose control of your business, and then things will go away from what you're wanting. Getting rich? No. I'm not poor anymore, that's good, but there was a time in my life where I literally lived off like $150 every week. Luckily for me that my parents helped me get a place to stay, but like, I mean, I didn't do much. I don't know if it was necessarily depression or just kind of pissed off at working and getting nowhere. Like, all I did is worked at a bar on the weekends and then did side jobs during the week just to kind of do shit. But I started making a little extra money one year by helping my friend put transmissions into Volkswagens, which is completely opposite of what I do now. Cars is my hobby though, so it's not outside the realm of what I normally do. I've worked on cars for a long time, since I was 18. I still have a project car in my garage that I don't know if I'll ever get done with it, but maybe one day when I have enough money. $18.30 a month. Yeah. I have a friend that lives in Wisconsin. He has a really nice car. He's got an older Nissan GTR, like an early 90s GTR. that we've gone up there a few times to help him work on, and it's almost done, I think. And then I personally have an old Datsun 240Z that I've been working on. We've been converting it into a, well, it hasn't been worked on in a while, so I can't really say that we've been working on it, but it's been sitting in my garage for a while, if that counts. But it's being converted into a drag car. It's got a lot of work done to it. My friend lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Or not Wisconsin. Wisconsin. Milwaukee, the good land. Wisconsin. All they know is cheese. That's true, dude. Fucking A, man. If you ever go to Wisconsin, just go into a normal fucking grocery store and they've got like a whole aisle dedicated to fucking cheeses. And if you love cheese, it's fucking amazing. It's like you've died and gone to heaven once you see all that. Yeah, the salt up north will fuck your vehicles up. That's for sure. He doesn't drive it in the winter at all because of that. He only drives his car during the summer. He's got a truck that he drives all the time. He's got a Jeep, newer Jeep Cherokee, I think. He's actually he's a network engineer for a graphics company that's based in Wisconsin. They have places all over the United States and the world actually, but their home IT base is in Wisconsin. Silicone spray? You talking about the solder? What are you talking about? Oh, to keep it off your car? Maybe. Alright, so that's soldered down well enough. We're going to clean our shielding up here. No wet days ever driven. I'm a big fan of Japanese cars, but I like American V8. So my last car was a 1996 Nissan 240SX, which is a rear-wheel drive, two-door coupe car, if you don't know what it is. And we took a LS1 out of a Camaro and put it on there originally. And then when I was racing it, it spun a rod bearing. So I took a 6-liter truck motor and we built it and put it in there, and then I drove that for about a year, and then I sold it, which I should never have done. It's a really fun car. I drove it every day. It made a 430 wheel horsepower, so if you factor in drivetrain loss, about 20% loss, it's about 530, 540 at the flywheel, so that's how much the motor made. This is a pretty fast car. It ran 123 miles per hour in the quarter mile, so if you know what that has to do with, it's pretty fast for a daily driven car. I drove it every day for about a year and then sold it. A guy in Colorado actually bought it, and then it got sold a few times. I don't know where it's now. It went back out to South Carolina, and then it's been gone since. All right, so that one is shielded up and ready to go. That's pretty much gonna end it for the night. I'm pretty fucking tired. We gotta get up tomorrow again and work. I work pretty much every day. I'm off Sundays, but I come in here and work anyway. So I gotta take my dog home. She's over there sleeping still. Let this cool off. Drinks a lot of water. I drink water and Cokes. Shouldn't drink Cokes, but I like them. Fuck it. Got my water over here. Got my Coke over there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let this cool off. But do y'all have any questions? Any concerns? Anything you want to ask? Mountain Dew is so much better for you. Yeah. Mountain Dew's not really good for you either. I try to drink water or flavored waters with the fake sugar in it that'll probably give me cancer, but at least it doesn't have calories in it, right? Help me lose some weight. I don't know. I tend to lose weight pretty quickly, so it's something I'm gonna start just. We've got an elliptical at home, which I'm gonna start running on. Quit sodas a while back. I just like plain water to me if I'm really thirsty is delicious. But if I'm just drinking something, like I like a little flavor. Usually I put lemon in my water. I think some people just naturally have higher metabolism rates, so I kind of get fucked on that part. When I used to run a lot, I was probably almost 100 pounds lighter. I need to get back to running. That's what the elliptical will do. I got asthma, which actually compounds the issue, but fuck it. But anyway, hot air's cooled off, so I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna head home. You guys and gals, if anybody is watching from the opposite sex, I know we had some earlier, but most people have lost. I don't even know what I weigh. Probably like 280. I used to be about 220, 215, and then working this job kind of sucks because I'm here all day, so I can't really be active much. But oh, Kate's here. So yeah, everyone have a good night. Check back tomorrow. I might stream some later in the day after I get done. If not, Sunday for sure. I've got some mail-in stuff that I have to get done. We've got 5 mail-in items, and we've got 2 more coming. So you all have a good night. Go drink some, or watch a movie, or have some fun. Go live life. Stop watching YouTube. Later.